Hello, everyone, and good morning. Welcome to our live feed update for August 25th. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and I'm here to update you on everything that happened yesterday on the Big Brother 26 live feeds. It was day 40 in the house, and we had a veto competition. We had some punishments, some prizes, and plenty to talk about here today. And with me to talk about it all is Kirsten. How you doing, Kirsten?
I'm doing great, Taryn. Don't worry. There's no question you can ask me that I won't be able to answer because I'll just pull out my encyclopedias, figure out the right thing to look for. We've got it.
There you go. Yes, let's get into it. Let's get straight into it here today. Of course, as we all know, T-Core is the HOH. She nominated Cam and Mackenzie with volunteer Tucker, who was not such a willing volunteer,
Mhm.
although he still did volunteer. Um,
Can't put the toothpaste back in the tube, Tucker. Sorry.
he certainly can't. Um, so, uh, that was what was happening. We presume that T-Core is kind of maybe sneakily trying to target Tucker, but not telling anyone. And apart from that, Cam and Mackenzie up on the block. There's also an AI instigator
Yes.
who instigated the day before and said, "Hey, Tucker and Rubina are in a showmance. They're holding hands." And so we've got that going on as well. Interesting stuff.
Yeah. It's always fun. Do you have like more of a solid guess on who you think the AI instigator is at this point, Taryn?
So that is a topic of conversation for the day, which is that it seemed fairly obvious that it must be Joseph uh, on day 39. In terms of like the information that was released and the way that he was talking about uh, things in general.
Mhm.
However, there is going to be another AI instigator hologram message here on day 40. And this one has pretty much everyone in the house very convinced that it must be Angela.
Yeah, I still think it's Joseph. And it makes sense too. I'm not sure if this got hit somewhere else, but I feel like they didn't advertise the vote that heavily on the show. So I think casuals probably voted like for one day and then the
Yeah.
the Twitter audience was voting more days. And so for once, our vote carried some weight when it matters the least.
Yes. Now, it's hard to say because we didn't see the messages.
Mhm.
But like the content of the message is part of what makes everyone think it's Angela. There were jokes about Angela and also just like I mean, the thing is, I feel like if I saw an AI message, like I would be able to know like, oh, this is Angela. Which makes me feel like maybe they're onto something, but I really did feel like it was Joseph. Um,
Yeah.
we will certainly talk about there's some back and forth about what Joseph has talked about himself. So we will get into all of that. All right. So first there is the veto draw, which we talked about last
Yeah.
update actually.
Just
Um,
literally stealing crumbs from this update. I see you, Maggie Morgan.
I mean, hey, we have certainly done something similar with Crazy
I
Eyes.
mean, to be fair, I for the record, you were trying to do that, and I was like, let's talk about what happened yesterday. So I think I'm actually squeaky clean in this. I've never done that before.
Um, Cam chose Joseph to play in the veto competition instead of somebody like Chelsea. It's not going to end up mattering much because, spoiler alert, Joseph does not win the veto. Nor was he ever an option really to win the veto. He's always going to be throwing those. So in some ways, not a terrible choice, but in other ways, maybe pick somebody that'll use it on you.
Well, yeah, it's like, okay, are you worried about taking an actual player out of the equation to increase your odds? Or what if you put someone who, if they win, they will use it on you to increase your odds in a better way?
Mhm.
Scenarios.
Angela also was picked to play in the veto competition. So it will be the 3 nominees, Tikor the HOH, Joseph, and Angela. Um, she really is taking Brooklyn's place in all things, even veto competitions now.
I well, listen, there was a married mother off, and there's one married mother left in the house.
Uh, in Tikor's mind, and she says this, if Tucker wins the veto, she's thinking she'll probably put up Angela as the replacement, as somebody from the alliance, the alliance. But if Tucker doesn't win, if somebody else wins, she wouldn't put up somebody from the alliance like Angela.
Yes.
She would do something else, probably like Leah. Those are her current options before the veto is even played.
Mhm.
Um, in addition to that, we get one kind of weird conversation between Joseph and Quinn. Joseph was saying that basically the two people he's least likely to vote for in the final two right now are Chelsea and Angela. He would only vote for Chelsea if she was next to Angela.
And, like, where did this come from?
He
I
wants her out. He's trying.
Yeah, it's just like Joseph has one move, and that's talk about who can win the game in the final two.
Truly. Um, so there wasn't a ton of other stuff going on pre-veto. We do then get to the veto.
Yes. And
And oh,
can
yep.
I just say, this is like for the first time I think ever, the Big Brother Instagram account posts on their story like, "Oh, the feeds are going to be down longer than usual for a classic veto competition.
Mm.
Heads up." And then maybe I like am confused, but I feel like the feeds were only down like 4 hours, which is a pretty standard Saturday veto
If anything,
draw.
it felt like a shorter downtime than normal.
Yeah. Like, just to do that the day after the feeds were down for a actual extended period for no reason, it feels wrong. It feels confusing.
They're trying to
Um,
gaslight us is what's happening. They're trying to be like, "Guys, feeds go down all the time, and they will be down today. Just so you know, they'll be down today."
CBS is about to start their own official feeds bot Twitter account.
Listen,
Like, see, feeds go
I am happy
down.
for them to be more communicative, but it's weird for them to communicate an outage that we fully expected that was completely normal,
Yes.
and still say absolutely nothing about the previous outage that was clearly related to controversy.
Well, you said it.
Um, so feeds come back from the veto competition, and wouldn't you know it, Tucker lost to Cam.
What? What?
Oh no.
Crazy. Who would have thought?
Cam won the power of veto.
He's here to play. Well, he's like here to play, but also not. It really just depends on the circumstances.
It was prize punishment kind of competition
Yes.
where you get eliminated one by one. You take a prize from somebody or you
Mhm.
take a new thing.
The
And so
white
we have some
elephant.
prizes and some punishments,
Yes. How do you
and we know what they are. Uh, Tikor got $5,000 that Tucker did not steal from her. Instead, took a punishment of his own, which was a costume punishment, where he is going to be called at various points throughout the week to go and look up facts in some books.
He's the AI assistant, the
Yes.
backup for Ainsley while her power is not at its full capacity, I guess, and he has encyclopedias to look up facts from.
Yes, and his costume
I
is very silly.
Yeah, and I do think though, like, Tucker's 30, right?
Yeah, something like
So
that.
I think that he's in the range, like, it's possible that his family would have had encyclopedias in the house when he was a kid, or he would have used them to like research something in elementary school. Like
Yeah,
he's
in
on the
school.
young end of possibly being experienced with encyclopedias.
I would say so. I mean, I
Yeah.
had encyclopedias at my school.
Yeah, and
Um,
we're just a couple years older than
yeah.
him, so I feel like he definitely would have had them, but maybe use them a little less. Because I feel like we're at the age where we would use them a little bit, but not like a lot.
Well, yeah, he's also like he has trouble like I think he has some form of dyslexia or something along those lines.
Mhm.
And so has a little bit of difficulty looking the stuff up. Um but like, it's weird seeing books in the house, I will say.
Yeah, there's so much information. Like they shouldn't normally have access to.
Yeah. Um all right. Well, that's what Tucker has. Joseph had got the 24-hour solitary confinement, which he seems very paranoid about.
Well, he should obviously be able to come up with a perfect plan in his solitary confinement if he's the player that he thinks he is.
He keeps going up to everyone like, "Hey, can you just look out for me while I'm gone, please? Can you just make sure that everything's good?"
I mean,
Like he's not sitting there by himself half the time
yeah,
anyway.
exactly. Like Joseph spends a lot of time alone. People probably won't notice he's gone, which I guess is bad because if people don't realize you're gone for 24 hours, maybe that could set off a little alarm in their head that they wouldn't mind if you went home. But he doesn't do that much to protect himself from that, anyways.
MJ got a trip to Hawaii. Um, and Angela got that the punishment where you have to do a thing a bunch of times.
1,000 times.
Yeah.
Yeah,
In
so she has
her
to move
case,
it. Yeah,
yes.
a
In
thousand
her
balls.
case, it's she has to use a little grabber, dress up in like hazmat gear, and grab some radioactive material, aka like little green balls from just a pile on the floor outside to a little radioactive bucket.
Yeah, and I saw some estimates online that doing this challenge would take more than 40,000 steps total to do it. So that's a lot physically.
Mm, yes. A lot of steps, a lot of grabs. And while she does this as well, occasionally she will get some radioactive material sprayed onto her and then have to take like a disinfectant shower. And of course, if she does not complete the task in the time allotted, she will not be able to compete in the next HOH competition.
Just brutal. Absolutely difficult challenge. I think for pretty much anyone. At one point when she's really struggling, she's like, Tucker would have been done this in 5 minutes, which is obviously an exaggeration, but it would be funny to see like the Tucker archetype do a punishment like this.
Mhm. So I mean, I can tell you now that she completed this challenge roughly an hour ago.
Yeah,
She was
just
doing it all night.
about. It
Yeah.
was so okay, it was so sweet when she finished it though. Everyone did like a arch with their hands for her to run under with the last ball. For the last like, I don't know, 100 or so, MJ was running with her.
Mhm.
People were like putting towels in the dryer to wrap around her to help her warm up because she was so cold all night. Like people really people really came together to support Angela by the end of this.
Yes, people, everyone
Well, almost
except Joseph and
everyone.
Tucker.
They went to bed. I gotta
uh,
admit, I don't know if I would have made it all the way to the very end. Like I probably would have made it to like 4 a.m. and then been like passed out in the backyard.
I mean, to be fair, I think chemo was best out in the backyard.
But
T-Core
that's
also
you
gave
can't
up at
help
one
it.
point.
Yeah. Well, people might want to talk to her. She needs to be well rested.
Um, All right, so those were the prizes and the punishments. There again is a new AI instigator message that has the whole house believing that Angela is the AI instigator. So that's the setup for the day here. Tikor feels great about the veto results. She was very happy for Cam to win. She didn't really want to put him up on the block anyway, and
Mhm.
this will make it easier for her to keep him safe this week, is how she feels. Again, I think fairly telling in terms of Tucker still being on the block. Um,
Oh, she wants him out. She wants his ass out so bad.
so she lets Rubina know the plan is, in her mind, Leah. Leah is probably the replacement for Cam. And then honestly, as they talk about it, as she's thinking about it, if it's between Leah and MJ at the end of the week, is MJ even really the target? Shouldn't shouldn't Leah kind of leave? Isn't Leah kind of a problem? And so I think that Leah is going up for, or that's the current plan for T-Core. She would prefer for Leah to go up, and it seems like she would also prefer for Leah to go home, at least in the event that she's up against Mackenzie. She obviously can't say what she would prefer, or she is saying, but if she did prefer Tucker to leave over Leah, she's not going to say so now. And quite frankly, Leah leaving would be fine for her, even if, like, if she can't get the votes to get Tucker out, then Leah leaving would be a decent alternative, and MJ leaving would be a decent alternative.
Yeah, I feel like Leo or MJ leaving is kind of it's fine. It doesn't give that much moving forward, but it also doesn't really take away too many options moving forward. It's like it's fine.
T-Core has done the thing that HOHs should do, which is that, like, there's no real way for her to lose at the
Yeah.
end of this week. Every
Nominate
one of those three
people.
nominees leaving would be great for her.
Yeah. Nominate people you don't care if they stay or go. Don't nominate people if you don't want them to go home.
Yeah. So that seems to be the plan for now. But listen, other people have other ideas, and we'll see where things go for the rest of the day. Um,
Yes.
Joseph, for instance, talks to Tucker. He says, "Hey, Leah's concerned about going up on the block," and Tucker's like, I don't think she needs to worry. I think I heard it might be Angela that goes up because Angela was, of course, an option." And Joseph is like, "Oh, that's great, yeah, because she's the instigator, right? She's definitely the instigator."
Yeah, okay,
And
sure, Joseph.
um, they agree that regardless, if Angela does go up, MJ would obviously be the target. And if it came down to Angela and Tucker, sorry, Angela. But that MJ would be the target. And Joseph, we know, wants MJ to be the target regardless.
And listen, Joseph keeps doing his thing, which is speaking into existence what he wants, and sometimes it happens and sometimes it doesn't happen.
And he very much, of course, does not want Leah on the block. So he was
Of course.
happy to hear that that wasn't seemingly the plan from
Yeah.
Tucker.
Well,
But
that's his
Tucker,
boo.
yeah, Tucker didn't actually know the plan. So
No.
unfortunate for him in that particular regard. So there's then he's still concerned though, Joseph. He's concerned that Leah might go on the block. He was concerned initially. He's concerned that Leah might go up as a replacement. He wants to protect Leah. And we caught the end of a weird exchange between Joseph and Quinn that people, I think, a lot of people initially took to be an admission that Joseph was, in fact, the instigator. Now, I do not think that is what this conversation was. That basically we cut into Joseph talking about how everyone thinks that Angela is the instigator and that Quinn should continue to push that narrative, essentially, make sure everyone still thinks it's Angela. Um, and that, hey, and then he also said, don't tell anyone. I'll explain to you everything once this is
Mhm.
over. I assume meaning like the nomination
Yeah.
or the isolation. Um, Now, what makes the most sense to me is that what he's talking about here is protecting Leah.
Mhm.
That basically in his conversation with Tucker, he felt like Angela is the other option for renom. He knows that Leah is an option as well. And if they continue to push the Angela is the AI instigator narrative, then that will help get Angela on the block over Leah. And I think that what he's saying for Quinn to not tell anyone is that Leah is the option in the first place, because he thinks that Quinn wouldn't know that information, shouldn't know that information. He's like, hey, Quinn, we need to protect Leah. This is how we do it. Push the AI instigator
Mhm.
narrative for Angela. I do not believe that he was trying to admit to himself being the AI instigator.
I mean, out of everything that Joseph has said to Quinn, this was not the most like damning for him being the AI instigator, right? So I think if he was actually exposing it, it would be, there would be no question. It would be crystal clear because Joseph is as subtle as a train.
Yes. And this does not mean that Joseph is not the AI instigator. It just means that I do not believe he told Quinn
Yeah,
that he was the AI instigator. Um,
exactly.
so that's where we're at this point. Ultimately, we didn't hear like the bulk of that conversation, and so there's still some missing context there. But that is as much as we know right now, basically. Um, so uh, Joseph still basically Joseph's still trying to be like, listen, like I gotta get my people to protect my girl. He's tried to be Dr. Will, he's tried to be Dan, and now he's Boston Rob. Quinn, if you can. If you can. Um
I just what people, what girl? Joseph, can we please be grounded in reality for 5 minutes?
um Chelsea's gonna talk with Leah, and then MJ's gonna join, and then they're gonna talk. It's a lengthy conversation about the possibility of Angela going up. But primarily Chelsea pushing, listen, if Tucker stays on that block, he's got to go. And Leah and MJ both agree, at least to Chelsea. Now, of course, Chelsea has to be very careful because Leah's not the biggest fan of Chelsea. Their relationship has recovered since she stayed. But I would imagine that at any given opportunity, Leah would turn around and stab her in the back again, because she's not a fan. This house has gotten so messy, let me tell you.
Oh,
The lack of
gotten.
structure, the lack of structure in this house has led to so much chaos in terms of relationships and strategic, just like places that people are at. Like MJ is playing an entirely different game from anyone else. In MJ's mind, the Underdogs Alliance is running the game, and like in many of in both her and Leah's minds, T-Core is their friend who is being manipulated by Rubina and Chemo. And Tucker is this like lone wolf that is also too attached to the underdogs, and therefore might have to go if he's on the block. But maybe not, because they also kind of hate each other, MJ and Leah. And Leah still kind of hates Chelsea, and Chelsea hates Leah, but they also are still kind of a little bit working together, because Chelsea doesn't know how much Leah hates her, and Leah does know how much Chelsea hates her, but is pretending she doesn't know. And then also Quinn still is trying to work with Leah, but Leah actually still hates Quinn and is still talking bad about Quinn, but she denied it to Quinn and he believed her, and so now he's still working for her. And now Leah and Cam are back together a little bit, and they're working together. It's so messy on that side of the house. It's all over the place.
Well, it's so every single player, pretty much, obviously with a few notable exceptions, is a yapper first and foremost. They're just out here saying anything, and then also the vast majority of them seem to be operating in a space of total delusion. And so when you get a lot of people talking and a lot of people living not in the realm of reality, you end up with mess and chaos. And we could literally have like a gossip magazine, like an Us Weekly, about all of these gossip stories, and it would work. We could do a mess magnets on all of these little side plots, and it would be doable. It's chaotic
Yeah.
and it's wonderful.
So they're trying to figure out, would we have the votes to take out Tucker if he's on the block? And of course, part of what helps Chelsea push this is that Leah is worried she will go on the block. MJ is on the block. They're both worried they could end up on the block against Tucker themselves, and therefore Tucker is now a bit more of an enemy. In addition to that, um, ever since it was revealed that Tucker was with Rubina, uh, they have been less hot on the idea of working with Tucker. He has been talking to them less. And so they are a lot more primed to actually vote Tucker out if they have the shot. The problem is, do they have the votes? Um,
Yeah.
that's where the issue comes in. If it's one of them against Tucker, they don't have their own vote. If it's Angela against Tucker, they would have themselves, Chelsea. But then would they even have Cam? Are the guys working together? Are the Andersons still a thing? So they're not sure. They feel like Quinn is going to be protecting Tucker. They feel like Joseph would never turn on Tucker, and they're right about one of those things.
Mhm.
And so like you know, it's just a bit messy. They're trying to figure it out, and that's what this conversation was. They don't really get anywhere with it. But the point is that the intention is there to vote out Tucker from them if they have the ability to.
Exactly. And so we'll have to see how things go at the end of the week. Obviously, AI Arena is still a huge force. We don't have the renom yet. We'll see what happens. But it's also funny because there is this undertone whenever Leah talks about Tucker of, well, Tucker said that no one in the house was his type, and now he's showmancing with
Oh,
Rubina.
it's more than an
And
undertone.
well, she says it too, but like before she says it, there's an undertone to everything, and then she says it.
Yeah. Um, Chelsea talks to Cam as well. And he lets her know, I've heard it's Leah going on the block. And she's, what? I've heard it's Angela. And he says, I think it might be Leah. Either way, she says, we need to get Tucker out. And Cam's like, oof, yeah, that might be tough. I'm not sure we have the votes, and we want to make sure we're on the right side of the house. Also, I did make a final two with Tucker before the veto. And she's like, well, he's not going to stick to that, right? And he's like, yeah, yeah. She's like, so we need to get him out if we can. And he says, yeah, no, I agree. If we have the shot, we'll take it. We just want to make sure we're on the right side of the
Mhm.
house.
Well, and it's the thing as well when you get closer and closer to Thursday with Tucker on the block, like that conversation will just start happening more and more naturally with everyone. Like you can't look at someone like Tucker who's won so much and like if they don't take the shot if he's on the block, that will be so disappointing.
There's definitely some reluctance here from Cam, but I agree. I think he's willing to do it if they have the numbers. The problem is, do they have the
Yeah.
numbers? And that's kind of an issue. Um, Cam does say, like, hey, make sure you don't say anything bad about Rubina Tikor or Chemo. They are like in power right now. And he said, listen, if we want to make this happen, we need Angela on the block, not Leah, because we will need Leah's vote. And he is very right about that.
Yes.
You know, that basically if Angela is up against Tucker, just to give the vote counts here because it's again very tricky.
Mhm.
I'll say if Leah is up against Leah or MJ, if either of them are up against Tucker, then you could theoretically have the other one's vote, one of Leah or Mackenzie, to vote out Tucker. You could probably get Quinn. That's not guaranteed
Yeah.
because he's not going to jump on a losing, sinking ship there. He's not going to try to take out Tucker only to have T-Core break the tie in Tucker's favor or something along those lines. You'd have
Imagine.
Chelsea. You could maybe get Cam, but that's still only four, and so you still need T-Core or Chemo or both to break the tie to make it 5-3.
Mhm.
It's tough. It's tough to get that to work. If
Yes.
if Tucker's on the block against Angela, then all of a sudden you could get both Leah and MJ. You could get both Cam and Chelsea. And then with Quinn, you make 5, and T-Core never has to show her cards. You never have to rely on T-Core. It could be a 5-3 vote. Tucker leaves. It would require Quinn theoretically flipping on the visionaries and the rest of that side of the house. But if it gets Tucker out, I think he would still probably do it.
Mhm.
It's just a
Well, I
lot
mean,
easier to make happen.
he was literally just told that there's nothing he can do to repair his relationship with Tucker, which really primes Quinn to be able to take him out if the opportunity presents itself.
Yes, Chemo did try to undo some of that today. He let Quinn know that, hey,
Well,
I think Tucker's kind of warming to you.
yeah, you're both
Um,
such nice guys. Why aren't you friends?
yeah. Now there is also a little bit of another play here that could work. If Leah is on the block and it's Leah versus Tucker, then you actually have a little bit more of a likelihood of Quinn voting for Tucker to leave, if there was some reluctance there, because he wouldn't want to vote Leah out. And then you also have like the trick shot of, can you get Joseph to vote out Tucker to keep Leah around?
Mhm.
And that could be your 5th vote. And so there are still some options there with the Leah uh, nomination, but it does probably require either T-Core and Chemo, or Joseph, or both, or whatever. So there are options, but it's all kind of tricky, and it all still relies on Tucker not winning the AI
Yeah.
arena to begin with.
Which, to be fair, yesterday, y'all were talking about, oh, well, it really depends on Tucker not winning the veto, but he's probably gonna. And he didn't win the veto, so who knows? We don't know what the AI arena competition's gonna be. It could be literally anything. He'll probably be suited to it because he seems to be extremely well rounded. But I don't know. Maybe he's not.
Maybe. All right. So Chelsea talks to T-Core as well. T-Core says, hey, I'd really love to chat at some point about like how we move forward in this game together. Chelsea agrees. She says, I think I have MJ and Leah, but I think that's kind of it right now. I definitely am open to working something. It's interesting, the spot that T-Core is in right now, because even though she is doing this, again, everyone seems to be blaming the people around her instead of her.
Mhm.
Like her method of deflecting blame is working. It's a little bit Matt from last season, where like it's very see through to us, but it's actually kind of working for the house.
Yeah.
And a lot of them still feel like, Chelsea included, Leah and MJ included, like, because Leah keeps saying like, I'm like basically T-Core's best friend. I don't even understand why like those people are all up in the HOH room now. They're coercing her into doing things, and I'm the one that brought her water and snacks. And I don't understand why they are so pushy on with her. So we'll see what
Well,
happens if she goes up on the plot.
she has had a few moments of talking about like, oh, things she's going to say to T Core, or like how she's going to
T-Core,
act.
you need to stop this. Those people, they're not going to protect you.
You can't win next week.
Yeah. Um. All right. So, T-Core talks to Quinn and Chemo. And T-Core and Chemo talk about Leah kind of being a problem. Joseph is telling her everything. That's kind of a problem. And hey, if that's going to be an issue, like maybe she should go up on the block potentially. Quinn tries to deflect a little bit. He's like, well, I'm a little worried about Cam and Tucker. I feel like that's maybe a little bit of an issue. Tucker does admit, he basically tells them like, "Hey, Cam made a final 2 with me." He didn't tell Quinn that, but he told Rubina. Um, and so this is already spreading that Cam and Tucker seem to be getting closer. So Quinn tries to deflect to that, but he asks Tigor again, like, "Well, what are you thinking in terms of renoms?" And she says, basically, my options are Angela or Leah. Joseph was also an option, but she said, I don't want to do
Mhm.
Joseph, but probably Angela or Leah. We know she's leaning Leah. But Quinn tries to argue the opposite. He says, well, putting up Angela, honestly, and then worst case scenario, she's up on the block against Tucker and she leaves. Like, that's not the worst thing in the world for us because the longer she stays in the game, the harder it is to take her out. Nobody's ever going to want to vote Angela out. If you're sitting next to Angela, you're screwed. So it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if this was her week. Plus, I'm
Mhm.
pretty convinced that she's the deep fake person, using Joseph's advice there.
I just love the rationale of, well, nobody's going to want to vote them out later, so we should vote them out now. And it's like, okay, you might have trouble whipping up the votes for that if nobody wants to vote them out.
Right. And with the thing being, I don't think Quinn minds if the votes aren't there to take out Angela over
Yeah.
Tucker. Uh,
Well, yeah.
so Cam goes to Leah and warns her, "Hey, I think you might be going up." Kind of repaying the favor to some degree from Thursday. And she's like, "Oh my God, well, would I have your vote if I'm against Tucker?" He says, "Yes, you would have my vote." Again, they've been rekindling this relationship. It's something that Cam is actively trying to do, especially since Thursday when she warned him that he was being targeted over Chelsea. Now, what is really funny is that in the process of rekindling this relationship, somebody walks in the door. Joseph. Joseph walks in. Oh, oh, are you guys talking? And Leah says, "Yeah, kind of, but that's fine." And so he just kind of stays, and the conversation breaks up, and the vibe is awkward. I will tell you, the vibe is awkward.
Yeah. There's this, and then is this the point? Does Quinn also come in, or is that a different conversation
There
later?
was a point where it was the
Yeah.
four of them in the room.
Because
Yeah.
it literally, like, in that moment, it straight up looked like Leah was standing up at the recoupling ceremony at Love Island about to say, like, "I would like to choose this boy because he makes me feel so special, and I care about him so much."
Oh boy. So Leah talks to Joseph alone. And she really lets it out. And it's such a cliche too. It's such like the like the friend as the as Leah's like ranting about her crush to the guy who has a crush on her. And she's just like, "Oh, Joseph, I'm just Rubina, you know? I'm just so frustrated." And she had been saying this earlier about like the idea of her going on the block. She's like, if I go home, I've been doing things. If I go home before somebody who hasn't been doing things, I was like, who is she talking about? Of course it's Rubina. She's like, she's just getting such a free ride. Like, like the fact that Rubina is still here, she's getting a free ride just because she found a boyfriend. I would be so pissed if I left before someone like her. Her game doesn't even exist with him here. Like, and he's such a liar and manipulator too. He tries to act like he's not, but he told me to my face like 5 times that she was nothing to him. And just because he's like attractive and stuff, he thought he could manipulate me. At least Cam doesn't sit around talking shit about people like he does.
It's honestly, Joseph and Leah might be perfect for each other with how much they're fixated on Rubina. Like, it could be a match made in heaven.
It was quite the rant here from Leah to Joseph. And again, you can see why she is now in a position where she is thinking that she will vote Tucker out if she has the option.
Well, yeah, a woman scorned.
Mm. The question is, will Joseph vote Tucker out over Leah? Because that possibility is now possible. And he did promise Tucker that he wouldn't, but he also has a big crush on Leah. So I don't know.
One, oh man, imagine you get to keep your crush in the house while sending her crush home pre-jury. That's how you get an in.
then you just need to take care of Cam.
And
You're locked
honestly,
in.
like targeting Leah's male minions slash romantic prospects, I wouldn't hate to see it. I wouldn't
Listen,
hate
it
to see it.
happens more often than you would think in Big Brother. It really does.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, that's the thing too. Obviously, Big Brother's not technically a love show, but with everyone living in such close quarters together, crushes do happen. Relationships become more serious than they would outside the house in the amount of time. Like a day in Big Brother is like a week outside the house kind of vibes. So those types of things are definitely going to impact people's decision making. I think we talk a lot about, maybe more so in final jury votes, that people typically will vote for who they like the most, who they feel the best about. And the reverse of that is true for evictions. People are just going to vote for who they like the least, even if it's not the most, quote, strategically sound decision for them. Like, you got to be liked.
Well, Chemo and Rubina are going to talk to Tucker. Now, this is not what T-Core wanted, of course. She talked to Chemo about how she does not want Tucker brought in to the alliance that they want to make with Chelsea and Quinn. But of course, Chemo's going to chemo. And him and Rubina are both going to talk to Tucker about, hey, we're thinking about working with Chelsea and Quinn. And Tucker is actually like, I'm kind of open to that. Like, I'd be down to work with Chelsea. I don't think she's a threat anymore now that Brooklyn is gone. And honestly, I've been kind of thinking I want Leah gone. So I think that would be a good play. And so Tucker is now on the evict Leah train, which means go back to the voting board here.
Yeah.
If Leah goes up and Tucker does win the AI arena competition, and it's Leah versus MJ, things could get a little interesting because if T-Core actually still does want Leah out, which seems like she does, Rubina and Chemo, I think, both want Leah out at the moment because she's a problem because of the Joseph thing as well. Tucker does as well. So now all of a sudden you have 3 votes against Leah, but we know that Quinn and Joseph and Cam are 3 votes for Leah. um,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have Chelsea and Angela, perhaps in the middle. Angela likely sides with Tucker, T-Core, Chemo, Rubina, making it at least 4, meaning T-Core can break the tie to evict Leah, which means we could see Leah actually be like in a very bad place this week.
Yeah. And I do just want to say, I think it's a little bit wild to be like, well, Joseph is telling everything to Leah, so we need to get Leah out. Because that is not a guarantee that Joseph isn't going to find someone else to tell everything to. I think you need to be more worried about the leak than where it is leaking.
I'm skipping over a lot of conversations actually about specifically that,
Yeah.
where they were like, well, do we want to just target Joseph? Like,
Mhm.
should we just take him out? Who would we prefer in jury? And they actually said we do kind of prefer Leah, and we might want her in jury over Joseph. But at the end of the day, it's just harder to target Joseph for them right now. He's too
Yeah.
much involved in what they're doing. And so Leah is kind of the easier shot to take. But Joseph has and still has come and is still, I'm not going to be able to say that properly. He came very close to being targeted and is still very close to being targeted this week, considering
Well,
his position.
and the thing too is, it's like, okay, so you take Leah out and you know that Joseph is a yapper. He's involved in all your stuff and he could spill it. I just think that this is it's extremely troubling, and how they handle the Joseph and Leah of it all. Not that that kind of like bundles Joseph and Leah as more than what they actually are, but like in Joseph's mind, they're very close. And
Mhm.
so to be targeting Leah to get to Joseph, I just don't know how
But
the implications of that really pan out.
yes, I would also say it's not specific. It's not only Joseph that's a
Yeah.
problem. It's also, of course, Quinn. It's also
Yes.
Cam. And so there are other reasons as well. But yes, this is where things are. And this is with the conversation where Tucker lets Chemo and Rubina know that Cam made a final two with him before the veto. So that's where that's standing. Now Angela at this point is really starting to struggle with her task. The night is running quite late, and as we said, like the house guests are staying up. T-Core gives like a big speech. Eventually taps out like shortly before the task ends. Joseph and Tucker are already had already gone to bed. The rest of them are out there. MJ is out and walking with Angela. But Quinn and Chemo get away for a little bit to talk a little bit of strategy. And Quinn says, "Hey, I really think it should be Angela on the block over Leah. I really don't want Leah to go home. I think that she's such an asset for us. And I think she trusts like me and Joseph more than anyone else in the house."
Well, it just depends on which twin is doing the nominating, Taran.
She literally has not stopped trying to paint Quinn as a target for the last month. Like literally a few hours earlier, she was trying to say, guys, let's just not forget that Quinn is the most dangerous person in this game and should be targeted.
She's doing what she needs to do.
Quinn says, Leah is more predictable than Angela. I think Angela would put me up. Leah would not put us up ever. And so she's like, I really feel like Angela should be going up. And Chemo doesn't really give much in response. He ends up going into the bathroom. And then Quinn says to the cameras, hell no. Hell no. Leah is not touching that block. She is not going on. There's no way I'm letting that happen. Angela is going on the block. Deal with it.
Okay. Whatever you say, Quinn. Again, like you have to consider there's like a few different Big Brother houses happening, right? Like there's the Big Brother house that we're watching and reality. Then there's like the house Angela's in, the house Quinn is in, the house Leah's in, the house Joseph's in. They're all different. They all have very different perspectives on what's real.
So that's where Quinn is right now. Gonna really try to make sure it's Angela that goes up. Now T-Core said that she was between Angela and Leah. As far as we know, she is still fairly set on Leah. It doesn't really make a lot of sense for her to put Angela on the block at the moment, unless, of course, she is still thinking about ways to get Tucker out, as we talked about, like ways to get Tucker out that don't involve her having to actively betray him. And that may mean putting Angela on the block. The problem is that's a little see-through. She knows that it's obvious that if she puts Angela on the block, that's putting two alliance members up and leaving the door open for non-alliance members to have the votes to take out Tucker. So, everyone would have to be very okay with Angela being on the block. So it's not impossible that Angela still goes up on the block, but right now it is looking like Leah, and it is looking like the votes are a little sketchy in every combination once again. So that is kind of where we are at the moment.
Yeah, and I do think people are feeling a bit warm and fuzzy towards Angela after she's done this punishment all night long as well, which I think will factor in.
And let me try to explain this a little bit more as well. Like Angela struggling with this. She is like in tears half the time, like physically shaking, like kind of limping along as she's trying to walk and get there. They had her do the last time they had her do like the slime stuff. She was literally like sobbing with the water coming on her. Like it was hard to watch.
I
Um,
can't imagine being in that situation and feeling that way. And like even at the start of her doing her punishment, people were kind of laughing and oh, it's funny that this is happening, kind of making fun of Angela. And by the end of it, everyone's like making their arch, like cheering for her, like, no, Angela, it's okay to cry, warming her up, as I said earlier with the towels. Like people are feeling a little warm and fuzzy towards Angela after that right now.
yes, possibly. So yes, it's hard to like convey this because if you weren't there, like she was doing this all night.
All
Like
night.
this is a big event that happened. It wasn't super strategically, like there weren't strategic conversations happening the whole time, but like they were all out there cheering her on. It was very dramatic. And they're all going to be sleep deprived, including Angela tomorrow, or today, I should say.
Mhm.
So this could have like an emotional impact on a decision that is going to be rapidly approaching. So
Yeah,
definitely worth calling out here.
100%.
Okay. So anything else, Kirsten, that we should bring up today?
Oh man, I feel like there were so because it was like a little bit less of a game focus and so much of just the chatting, there's so many little things that happened. Uh, we don't have to get into it. They talked about nose picking at one point.
They did. Yeah.
Go, everybody picks their nose.
Yeah.
Oh, eat your boogers. No, don't do
Normalized,
that.
normalized nose. I don't know how eating boogers got involved.
I
I feel like
mm,
that's an entirely new step.
I think it's like that's like I think everyone is like, oh, there's a little thing in my nose, but I don't think everybody eats what comes out, and you shouldn't. Um, but yeah, I don't know. We don't have to. People have eaten boogers in the Big Brother house over the years, and maybe it's a reference.
Maybe. Okay. Anyway, I think that's what we have for you then today.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Don't eat your boogers
Um,
and wash your hands, everybody.
yeah, yeah, yep. That's it. That's today's update. I will be back tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Eastern, to update you on everything that happens today on the Big Brother 26 live feeds, including what happens with the renomination plans, how deep a hole Quinn and Joseph can dig for themselves trying to protect Leah. And we'll see what happens. I will also be live tonight on Twitch. Come and hang out with me. We'll be watching the episode together. It'll be a good time. We'll also be live after the episode to recap it all here on RHAP. So tune in for all of that. And in the meantime, also check out the scripted coverage we've got going on. The Tastemakers will be talking some fun things this week. So tune in for that. Kirsten, what do you got going on?
Yeah, follow me everywhere at Kirsten Said What. That's Instagram, Twitch, TikTok, everywhere. As well on the Hot Dummies on Islands podcast, we just broke down the Love Island USA reunion. Myself and Brian Scally were joined by Puya to talk about it all, so that was really fun. And you can listen to Mess Magnets every week. This week, Lavina will be joining me while Sasha is still away, and so you can go follow me there.
All right. Well, that is what we have for you today. Thank you all so much for joining us, and I will see all of you